Literature. Hey, American Literature 1, let's talk. We've arrived, everyone. We've arrived at the end of the semester. I am proud of the progress that I've seen in your work, and let's finish strong because, like I said in the previous videos, the vast majority of your points are about to be scored. So let's do well on this. So a few things I want to just talk about real quick before I get into some specifics is that if you're handing in anything you hand in, try to make sure it's as readable as possible. It's as best work as possible. The easier it is for me to read, the better the citation. All the basic rules of English, they all apply. I will be looking for substance, obviously. That's my primary thing, but I do expect all the basic essay rules to apply. And when they don't, I'm just being honest, right? If you write, maybe you've got some genius, some brilliant insight on literature, but you can't string a sentence together, it ruins everything you said because it's really hard to understand what you had to say. So please, please, please make sure when you hand in any of your documents, make sure they're very well written and easy to read. I would love it if it was a pleasure to grade these. And so here's just a few things just to expect. I will not be marking up your papers like a composition paper. I'm not going to mark off. I'm not going to mark every sentence level error or anything. I'm not going to mark any of that. But I just want you to know that it can really hurt your grade if it's hard to read your essay. So write well. And so I'm really not going to be marking your papers at all. So the primary thing that I'm going to be grading you on, the very essence that your grade will be based off of is, did you fulfill the requirement of the assignment? Is it what I asked you to do? You know, have you completed the assignment? And these essays really are pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And many of you guys have reached out to me over the past couple of weeks as far as your direction, and so some of you guys have not, and that's okay too. Whatever you want to do, but really the primary thing I'm looking for is, did you actually do what I asked you to do? And if you did, you're going to do well. And if you didn't, well, maybe not so well, but I hope you did. So having said that, let's talk a little bit about your final. And so I had grand plans to create a really cool interactive final, but it looks like it's going to be another document just like our midterm was. Okay, so I'm sorry. The issue here is, though, however, it will only be available on December 9th. So starting at midnight, or I guess 12 o'clock a.m. on December 9th and ending at 11:59 p.m. This will be available for you. You will have a clickable link to hand this in. It will appear, and so I will have it in the announcements that it is available on that date. But it's going to be in the content section. And I tell you what, I'll make it appear at the beginning in bright letters. Okay, so it's impossible to miss. And so what you're going to have, it'll be a folder, and basically that folder will have, actually I have it down here. Let's see here. It's invisible. You guys can't see it right now, but I have it up here. I'll just for the sake of my own forgetfulness, I'll just bring it up here to the top. But it's good. You're going to see, it's not going to say midterm and final. It'll say final exam, and you're going to click into that, and it will have two links. One will be the actual document. So just like last time, it'll be a Word document, and you'll fill out the Word document. And then there's going to be a link, and that will be the link that is where you hand in your final. And you'll have all day to do it. So 24 hours you will have to do your final. Normally this is just an hour or 2 hour, actually it's a 2 hour final, but I'm giving you some flexibility because, hey, we're in virtual COVID land. So let's be friendly about it. But it is on December 9th. That is when your final happens to fall, and you have 24 hours to complete it. And like I said last week, I did, if there's some kind of first of all, if you are on if you're in a class that should have been on campus this semester, it has to be December 9th, no exceptions. If you're in my online class You should have reached out to me by now if you had some other obligation, like a surgery or some kind of a doctor's note or something like that. But please let me know. Please, no last minute excuses. Also, the fact that instead of giving you just 2 hours in the day to complete it, I'm giving you the entire day. You should be able to manage your schedule so that you can take this final. Last week, on the home page, I did give you some guidance as far as how to study for the final, and I'm just going to highlight this. These are pretty much, I'm not going to give it away, right? No spoilers, but you should be able to speak on these, or I should say, write on these topics. Okay, describe the major themes of the Federal period and the Enlightenment era literature. Do yourself a favor, and this week before December 9th, which is coming next week during finals week, before that day, really study up on this. Okay, look at what we've talked about this semester. Look at the videos I've already given you. Really, the answers are there. But if for some reason you don't feel real confident about those, okay, look it up on the internet. The thing is about this class, all of the things we're covering, they're not secrets. It literally and so you can really kind of dig down if you need to, if you don't feel 100% confident based off of what we've already gone over as far as the videos and my lectures. If you want to make sure, man, yeah, but how am I going to write this? Okay, do what you got to do to be ready. And the nice thing is you've got the time. You've got some time to do it. I know the end of the semester, it's crazy and things get kind of busy, but you have about a week and a half. If you're looking at this on Monday, November 30th, you have a week and a half to prepare for this. And that's more than enough time. These are the hardest questions. Okay, that's why I put them here. These are the hardest things that you're going to have to do in this final. You will have to do all of them. None of them are going to be like, well, I studied for that and it's not on the test. No, like these are almost literally the questions themselves. Okay, so and these are the ones that I want quality answers. I don't want just like 3 sentences that are kind of like, you're just kind of BSing it. Hey, I was an English major too. I get it. I did my share, right? We all do our share, but I'm not going to accept that. I can kind of see through it, right? And so on the midterm, I kind of accepted that a little bit more. On the final, I'd really like you to say, listen, I did get through the class and I did at some point learn these things, right? So describe how America is a Renaissance creation. And the thing is, the Renaissance, you got to think about what was going on in the Renaissance. It was coming out of the Dark Age. We were coming out of a time of a lot of chaos. We were trying to reinvent how we worked as a society. Okay, so we were trying to do that. And one of the first videos I had you look at this semester was about Rome, right? Why did I do that? Well, it was because whenever we were trying to create this country, or not we, the people who started this country, the United States, they were looking at Rome as this beautiful thing that once was. They were looking, it's weird, they were looking back in the past as a day, the past was more civilized than the present. It's hard for us as modern humans to think about it this way. In the past, things were more civilized and more advanced than they are now. But that's how the Renaissance, in the Renaissance, it was like they were remembering all these things that seemed to be forgotten because of all the chaos that happened after the fall of Rome. So it's a Renaissance creation. The United States is a Renaissance creation because they were taking a lot of these ideas, a lot of these things that worked in ancient Rome, and a lot of the philosophy of the time, and a lot of the philosophy of the Renaissance, and they created the Constitution and all these things. All of that philosophy bloomed, but it all started in the Renaissance. So, hey, I just told you the answer. All right. I would love it if you wrote that down and maybe wrote it down a little bit more eloquently than I'm just spouting it out. But that's where you should be looking as far as where that answer comes from. Some of these, right, you should recognize from the midterm. Describe the influence of the Enlightenment on American literature. That was the first major movement, or the first major school of philosophy that we covered. And you got to think about this. This was after the scientific revolution, or as the scientific revolution was occurring. And you got to understand the Enlightenment thinkers, pretty much you've got the founding fathers of the United States were all Enlightenment thinkers. Thomas Jefferson, if you were to ever go to If you look up Thomas Jefferson, he's going to be considered an Enlightenment thinker. Benjamin Franklin, all of these early founding, what we call the founding fathers of the United States, Thomas Paine, all these people, they were influenced by the Enlightenment. So and again, that is the philosophy that basically says that we can solve humanity's problems by the application of reason and by separating ourselves from the superstitious ways of the past. And yes, it does mean many of them were saying, you know what, we've relied on religion too much. We've looked at religion as the ultimate source of truth, but the ultimate source of truth, in fact, is actually reason. And so this was a departure from the vast majority of human history. And so that's primarily how we're looking when we look at the Enlightenment and the early American, we're talking about the early American writers. Just look at how they were looking at superstition. And look at how they were looking at these things, and they were kind of poking fun at these ideas and these common ways of looking at the world. So think about that. Name elements of Romantic literature. I'm not asking you to name all of the elements of Romantic literature, but you have to think the Romantic period was after the Enlightenment period had been in full force. There's every period of philosophy will have a following period where they're saying, I'm not so sure that was such a great idea. So it was a response to the Enlightenment whenever we were looking at the Romantic period, right? So remember, instead of looking at reason as the ultimate source of truth, Romantic writers, they also felt that emotion was an equally strong source of truth as reason. They weren't necessarily against reason, but they looked at emotion as a source of truth, and that would not have really gone that well with the Enlightenment thinkers. So emotion as a source of truth and possibly the ultimate source of truth. They also looked at nature as something that was incredibly powerful and important. They were also looking at, okay, how are we treating nature? How are we treating the planet? This was kind of some of the earliest in the United States, as far as the United States goes, it was some of the earliest thoughts about maybe we're depleting our resources too quickly. That was an aspect of the Romantic period. Also, you got to think about the issue of terror and these passions. That was something you see, of course, with Nathaniel Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, just think about a lot of the topics they wrote about. Let's see, name authors from each period and explain why they are considered authors of those eras. That's going to require you to really do a lot of thinking. I'm not going to do that for you, but I just talked about all three eras. And well, actually, I didn't talk about the third era, which is Transcendentalism. You need to understand Transcendentalism, right? That was the last major period that we covered. So Thoreau, why was he considered a transcendental art? I'm just getting a little verklempt here. No, I'm not getting verklempt. Tongue-tied. See, I couldn't even think. But why is Thoreau considered a transcendentalist? What is it? First of all, what are the tenets of transcendentalism, and how are those transcendental authors that we read? What aspects of their writing lets you know, hey, oh, this must be a transcendentalist. Okay, you need to understand that, and you need to be able to tell me in the final. And let's see, identify works of literature from our semester. Yeah, you're going to need to be able to identify. I'll have an excerpt from a specific piece. You need to identify who wrote it and what the title of that particular piece of literature is. That's generally the easiest part. So yeah, obviously, I want you to be able to do that. But I really want you to focus on those first five. And I expect to see far more written than I saw on the midterm. I don't care who you are. Even those of you guys who got A's, it was a little pitiful, okay, whenever you were writing your midterm answers. I want more. I want depth. Don't just give me filler. We're all English people here. I know what filler is, okay? I was in English. I know how it works. Don't give me filler. Give me depth, okay? So work on that. That is essentially what I want you to think about this week. Of course, finish your essays, finish all the things that are due, right? Right now, you'll need to hand in your literary essay. And then if you haven't handed in your author reports, you need to hand those in. Okay, so those are really important to have done and handed in before the end of this week. So Friday midnight, that's when they're due. No later. Anything later, I will not accept it, because that is the end of the semester. Okay, so you've had plenty of time, especially on those author reports. But we've been working on this. We've been working on our literary essays for weeks now, and so we've had a lot of time to work on them. Let's get them done. Finish strong. Okay, guys. I want to thank you for being really an awesome class. I've had two classes, in case you haven't caught this. I've had my classes that were taking what we would consider normally on-campus classes, and then of course my distance education students, all of which were taking the same class because we happen to be in the craziest year that I've ever been alive, and we're all doing this virtually. You guys have really done a great job. I've seen some really great insights. I wish I would have seen a little bit more discussion on the discussion boards. But hey, I can't ask for everything. I'm looking forward to reading your essays, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you do on this final. Thanks so much. If you wouldn't mind taking there's an exit survey. This is something that's it's just for me so that I can hopefully improve. I'm constantly learning as well. It's not like I've ever really figured out the best way to teach. And this is my 10th year in teaching. But people change, classes change, everything is changing. So I want to make sure that I'm teaching as well as I can teach. So give me some constructive criticism. Let me know what I did right. I'd love to know what I did right. We all love knowing what we did right. And we all need to know what we didn't do as well as we could have, and things that we could do to improve. So be gentle, but please let me know how I can improve so I can make this the best possible class. Many of you guys are taking me in the spring for American Literature 2, so your suggestions will help me make a better class for you in the spring. I am looking forward to seeing how this all works. And of course, this is our first year ever doing this during global pandemic. So everybody's learning, and so we all are giving each other a little bit of wiggle room. And of course, we've done that a lot this semester with being able to turn things in late and all that stuff. But I wanted to give you the best possible chance. Guys, thanks so much. I hope you have a very happy holidays. It's been a wonderful class. Whenever we are done with the final, you're done with the class, make sure you hand everything in by Friday at midnight that needs to be handed in. And happy holidays, happy new year. And I hope to see you in the spring for American Literature 2. Thanks so much, guys.